Hey, welcome to the 12 Cent Treehouse. I am writer, producer, all around kibitzer, wonderful human being Sean McLaughlin. And with me, as always, or almost always, is the lovely and talented Jeff Johnson.
Hi, everybody.
Happy Father's Day to any fathers out there or anybody who has a father. I understand most people have had one, good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah, they're out there.
And today, I think we want to continue on from last week, right? We were talking about how do you revive a character, how do you make it personal, and we talked about Flash Gordon, and we want to continue on along those lines and talk about how you develop it into something that is not just hack work, but meaningful and has something hopefully to say, even though it's Flash Gordon on the planet Mongo with Lionmen and Tuskmen and all that kind of stuff. But that's, I think the important thing for me for that story was always that it was a metaphor for World War II, was that you had to bring the world together in order to defeat this evil force.
Right.
But what we talked about last week was like how would you do it now? And instead of doing the Flash Gordon's son goes to Mongo, or Flash Gordon's has a teenage hero with him who takes over the thing, how would you do it with an older Flash Gordon forced to return to Mongo? So I think the big question is, Jeff, how many years would you think it would be? So you think he's like in his 20s, maybe in the first series? He's not long out of college.
He's young. What was the sport you said he did? Was it rowing or no? Polo.
I believe he was one of the top polo players at Yale.
Well, I mean, so what's interesting about that, first to go back to one of the things you said is like, it has to have, like, we're revamping a character, we're approaching a character, and it has to have some sort of emotional connection to us, right? What is why are we doing it? So I think I like that we're doing it with Flash Gordon since we both know him and love that character. But I really think that this thought experiment is just a great exercise. Like, how do you develop a character? How do you approach making something that is interesting? But I think the first thing is it has to be interesting to you, right? It has to mean something to you, because trying to guess like what's going to be like, what's the next Wolverine story, or what's the next big thing, I always think that falls flat inevitably, because you can only tell the story that means something to you. You have no idea how it's going to affect anyone else, or if it's going to hit. And if it doesn't land with you, it doesn't really have a chance of landing with anyone else. So for me, when we came across the Flash Gordon thing of like, so he's probably in his 20s when he does his actual Flash Gordon thing, leaves Mongo, and then comes back when things have gone awry, like solves the problem, defeats Ming, and then is gone for a very long time. I think since I'm in my 50s, I would put him in his 50s, because at that point, a lot of his friends have probably already died or gotten sick or fallen off the map in some way or another. He's still vital, but it's not the same. And also you're staring mortality in the face in a way you don't when you're in your 20s.
Right.
And I think
that's a really interesting thought, because in your 20s, you sort of like run towards danger. And in your 50s, you start wondering, well, and it's not just the knees hurting. It's like,
right, it's not just the running that's the problem.
Yeah, my time is limited, and how much of it do I want to risk for somebody else at this point?
And I do think that's interesting as a story theme. Because a story is always just an exploration of something. It's just a cool version of an idea. So yeah, maybe he's 50 and he gets called back. And he sees that not only did he affect change, but once again, what's that word where a real person's actions is mythologized? Is that it?
Mythologized.
So they have turned him into basically a fictional character and almost deified him, right? So now he comes back and he's trying to affect change, but everyone sees him. He has to overcome how everyone sees him before he can change anything, right? Because they're already dealing, right? which I think is a really another interesting concept about if you've had old friends or you've been around for 50 years, especially like say our careers. I'm sure some people think of us in one way and other people think of us in a different way, which may or may not.
I think there are a lot of people who conflate the two of us.
Right.
Those are the big scary guys in animation and comics who are willing to yell.
Yeah.
You're not. I'm the yeller. You're not a yeller. You just sort of loom menacingly occasionally.
Yeah, I like to say like, hey, that's not fair, and that that's a problem. But anyway, but I do think that self-perception and how people perceive you is another interesting theme. Before we even get into any of the plot or nitty-gritty, like, what's the story about? Like, what are we actually talking about? I think that's one of the things I think is great about Batman, right? If you can take any character, the ones that have the most longevity are the ones that I think represent an interesting ideal or belief system. Like Spider-Man, definitely the cost of responsibility. Captain America, the ideal is more important than the reality. You fight for the ideal. Batman, right?
Well, the interesting thing about Captain America is that the ideal is what you fight for, but he's kind of a dick. You know,
Cap?
Yeah. Because he's convinced he's right all the time.
He is.
You know?
Yes. I mean, he does have the benefit of mostly being right, but I'm sure it's annoying.
Yeah. I think you're dead on about the 30-year difference, because how long did it take for Europe to go into another? Europe never went into a conflict like World War II, but 30 years later, there's still sort of like the same things going on. And if you have these different peoples who are brought together to defeat Ming, how long is it before they start arguing amongst themselves again with stuff that they've been arguing about for thousands of years?
Right.
Maybe. Or about if you want to go into like stuff like what happened to the real world, it's like, are people in Phrygia, the Ice Kingdom, angry that Tuskmen are moving in now?
Right.
Are there immigration problems on Mongo?
Right. Like, how are their economies doing? Have they what are the natural events that have been going on in this time, like that are maybe have nothing to do with the new regime, so to speak, but like are inevitable outcomes of human interaction, right? I think those are really interesting conversations to have, and I know that they're inherently political, but like every bit of art, I think on some level, if it is a response to the person who's creating it and the time they live in, it's all political.
Yeah, and the time we're living in now is an interesting time for. You have the sort of superpower of the United States waning, and Europe having to step in and do stuff that they had counted on the United States to do for a long time, and that could be a good. We could turn Mongo into a good metaphor for that.
Absolutely. Well, because you said that the original Flash Gordon is sort of an allegory for World War II and Reconstruction.
That's how I took it. Yeah.
So maybe the next Flash Gordon, if we're going to continue that legacy, is like, well, how do you then prevent World War III? Like,
right.
So, especially if you taking out one guy, right? As bad as Ming was, like he's, the urge to be Ming, right? Ming in the making, like whether it's a son or a Destiny or just some other asshole that doesn't care about consequences or consequences for other people.
Yeah, but the other thing was that Ming, when Ming was in power, at least my reading of it is that it was a relatively peaceful time because people were afraid, and they were focused on him. But it didn't seem like there were people starving or that there were people being thrown in. Once Ming got his control, he tried to make it fairly comfortable. It wasn't like the Soviet Union where people were starving and dying left and right. I mean, it probably were secret police and stuff, but
right. Is there an outside? Well, one of the reasons I just was reading some stuff about Russia and how that they never really got a chance to really recover after World War II because we and the rest of the world kind of messed with them. Is there an outside force? One of the things that might be interesting is if there is, so Ming was the bad guy and he was sort of the ultimate evil in the first version. Is there another kingdom? Are there competing kingdoms to Mongo? Like, do they have threats? Do they have competitors?
No, he pretty much ruled Mongo, but then there were people. So I did a little research when we decided we were talking about this. There were kingdoms that were aligned more closely with Ming, and one of those might see an opportunity where instead of seeing an opportunity for freedom, they could see a vacuum of power and want to move in and take it.
Right. Interesting.
The other thing that's really interesting, I think, about 30 years later is, if you look at the real world, people like Shackleton and MacArthur and Eisenhower to a certain degree and Patton were not people who were made to do anything other than the one thing. And Flash and Dale had these ridiculous experiences which binds them together. But then what do it's like post World War II here and, best years of our lives. Like, so what if you're Flash Gordon and you save a planet, what do you do after that? I mean, does he go back home and sell insurance, or does he become a polo coach, or,
right.
So there might be some attraction to him to going back and trying to live the best years of his life again.
Well, yeah, totally. Well, I think one of the things that, so I have a friend who's in his 70s and a psychotherapist. And one of the things he talks about a lot is when he deals with people who are going through cancers or getting older and in that entering that last quarter of life, is one of the things that really separates someone who gets better from something and doesn't is a sense of purpose, like a goal.
Right.
And I do think that when you get older and it looks like, oh, I've retired. Not like, now what do I do? That sort of amorphous, lack of motivation, I think, can really weigh on a person. Like, and having so yeah, maybe he's just flitting through life being like, what am I even doing? Like, why am I even sticking around?
Is there an adrenaline surge that he's missing? That, certainly was. While if you think about it in terms of a real world character, the stress he underwent on Mongo, I mean, it's almost like it's PTSD. I mean, it was constant battle for like 10 years,
Right.
So
isn't there a thing for astronauts when they come back to Earth, they dream, they think of space, they just think about trying to get back and nothing is quite the same?
Yeah.
It must be.
For All Mankind, the series on Apple sort of addresses that.
Does it? Okay, I'll have to check that out.
When they get older, they are sort of purposely pushing envelopes just to have some kind of feeling.
Yeah, I mean that's really, I do think so. So once again, we're in a later stage of life, and so the story that we want to tell is like, what the exploration is like. Well, what does that mean, right? And using Flash Gordon as the proxy for that, which makes perfect sense, because you always like to. I mean, I don't know about you, but I always put myself into my art whenever I can, not on purpose necessarily, but just like you use yourself as you are your own template.
I saw a quote from Robert Duvall the other day talking about Stanford Meisner, the acting teacher. The most important thing he taught me was, you are your own instrument. When you're building a character, you're not trying to overlay something on it. You are creating that character from you.
Yeah.
And I think
Meisner's the one where someone says something and you say something, and like there's just there's a flow you're trying to get, an honesty.
Yeah, but it's so that goes with what you're saying about you can't. Something of you is in those characters and in that story. So
yeah, well, I mean, I think that's inevitable. Even if you're trying not to write yourself, whatever you're choosing to write or draw, you're still involved in that decision, right? It's the whole cognito ergo sum. I'm creating, though, therefore I exist, and the art itself is going to be a reflection of whatever that moment is. Like, I don't know about you, but I can, like, the the most vivid memories I have of pages, like if I see a page, the most vivid recollections when I see that page are often when that page was done under duress, or when I like, or like something was going on in my life that I was either I was hiding from it or trying to cope with it
Right.
through the page or through work or just whatever. Those pages are the most vivid. You're like, oh, I remember exactly what I was doing, everything about this page.
And how do you feel about the work then? Is it painful to go back and look at it, or is it like, oh, I used this well? Or
You know what's funny? There's almost a pleasant nostalgia, like, because I think it works. I think art therapy works, and so the fact that it exists is a sign of success in some way. That moment was dealt with, that moment was healed from or endured. And I think that's super woo woo, blah blah, whatever. But I do think that's the purpose of. I think that's the purpose of being an artist, and especially being a professional artist, where you have to create no matter what.
yeah, I wrote that rom-com I was working on when we first started this podcast was started with me trying to work out some trauma from my past and
Mhm.
try and put it into some kind of form that made sense to me. So I agree with that.
Well, so yeah, I'm doing a thing. So Jones asked me to write a thing for him to draw for us to work on. Um, and then he gave me some concepts. He's like, oh, I'd like to be something like this and something to be like that. And then I took that and I just started writing and just started letting and trying not to plan it out, trying to like just write the next thing that occurred to me, because I'm always trying to figure the math out. So I was trying not to do that. Um, and it sort of evolved into this thing where I was using the 7 stages of grief and the 7 aspects of alchemy, and it turned into 7 issues, and it sort of became kind of like an exploration into the idea of grief. But I didn't see that coming, and so, and I think like that's the thing that I think really, it's one of the reasons AI is never going to replace humans, not for real, but I do think that's one of the things that makes being an artist, a professional, or a creative person in general worth the effort and the time, because you get those moments of like, oh, I get this insight into myself that I wouldn't have normally had.
Yeah, I kind of don't understand people who look on it just from the business aspect and just from maybe from a craft aspect from it. And I'm not running them down. I'm just saying I don't understand.
Right.
Because to me, the best stuff comes from something that you need to say. And I think one of the things about what this idea we're talking about with Flash Gordon is that you don't die at 35.
Right.
You're still,
Right.
You change, but you're still have things going on.
Right. And I like that we decided to, instead of having it be his kid take over, which seems to be a very common approach to things, is like, even if your kid did take over, you're still alive. Like you still you still have, more time to do. It can be good, adventurous, or it can grind out. Yeah. So I like that we went away from just transferring the mantle. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So he comes back and he's in his 50s and he's trying to put stuff together, but there's no one is actually dealing with him as he is as a person. And so he has to deal with all these preconceptions, which is an interesting thing that happens as you get older. And even for himself, like what am I doing? Like, what are my preconceptions? But then how do go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, so those are all very heady concepts, but then how do you turn that into a monster for him to fight?
Well, do they want to protect him once they realize first of all, he needs to do something to prove that he's Flash Gordon to at least some of these people.
Right.
But he can't match up to their expectations because they have a completely unrealistic picture of who he was.
Right. That's interesting. So how does he prove that he's an older version of this thing? So he still has to do badass shit. But maybe we can just show the cost of it more. Like,
yes. Do you remember the serial? Have you ever seen the serial? Do you remember it very well?
Yeah, a long time ago.
In the first, I think the first episode or the second episode, So at Warner's, Dan Reba and I went through a huge thing where we had to watch every serial ever made, as painful as that is sometimes. But at the end of the first episode, I think he's dropped into this pit, and there's this terrible dragon monster.
Okay.
Which is just a guy in a suit doing this.
Oh, that's the height of. So it's a height of technique back then.
Yeah. I mean, it was the height of special effects at the time. But if we can what if we mirror that as the first monster, as the first proof he is Flash Gordon, but he has to defeat it like a 50-year-old would instead of as a 25-year-old. Like, he's not going to go and wrestle it.
Right.
Because he's 50, and though I don't know, you can wrestle pretty well still when you're 50 in your 50s.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
But B, he's more scared than he was before, because
right.
The clock's ticking. He's more aware of his own mortality, and then if he defeats it, okay, yay, he's Flash Gordon. But some people would be like, is he though? Because Flash Gordon would have just beat that guy up.
Right. This guy's not. He's like Flash Gordon light.
Yeah. So you get the monster coming at him in the pit, where he's got to fight his way out. A reflection back to his first days on Mongo.
I love that.
But it has to come in a different way, and instead of having to try and just bring everybody together, he's got to bring everybody together and prove that he actually is who he is.
Right. So he has to. So I think that's an interesting. When we talked earlier about like how do you get from point A to point B, I think you just did something that I need to write down and try and think about more consciously. You presented a problem for the character to solve, and the way they solve it is is character, right? That's an interesting way to shorthand that. It's like, so what's the problem he has to solve that will prove that he is the character that we want him to be, and how the rest of the cast see him. That's interesting, right? So yeah, old school dragon, but cooler now.
Yeah.
But then he beats it in a way. Maybe he tries to beat it. This is going back to that classic, beginning, learning the lesson, failing the lesson, and then trying, and then finally getting it. So he tries to beat it the way he would, realizes that's not going to work. He can't jump as high or move as fast. And so then he has to figure out something else. So
right.
then, yeah,
right.
Okay.
So what happens when you get older? What can you do that you couldn't do when you're younger? Like George Foreman, realized his hand speed wasn't going to be what it was, but he could make himself stronger.
He could make himself stronger, and he could practice he started angling more, right? He started, he started working his tactics and his strategies more. Not that he didn't have those early on, but definitely played a smarter game, right?
Well,
so maybe, yeah,
he sort of dared them. I remember seeing him interviewed after he won the heavyweight championship, and I think Brian Gumbel asked him, so all these younger guys you're fighting, they just want to stand and go toe to toe with you. And Foreman said, yeah, and that's not really a very good idea.
Oh, right. Because if you know, right, know your, wait, so what is it? Know yourself as well as you know your enemy, and you shall not fear defeat in 1,000 battles, right? So if he knows they're going to go toe to toe, and he knows how to defeat someone going toe to toe, then letting them walk into that trap is a good strategy. Yeah.
Right. They've got to prove themselves to him. And Holyfield was the only one who didn't feel like he had to prove something. And Holyfield said he never got hit harder in his career than he did by Foreman. He got hit by Foreman in the first round. He said, I was sure every tooth in my head fell out.
Oh,
I never felt anything like that.
Can you imagine? I mean, I've been hit pretty hard, but I can't imagine being hit by a professional heavyweight.
By a 240-pound professional heavyweight boxer.
Oh, yeah.
No, I can't even. I'd be on the floor crying like a little girl if I were awake.
Oh my God. Yeah. Just the devastation.
So that begs the question, like, what's Flash been doing in the past 30 years? Like, is he sort of out of shape when he gets there? Or,
I imagine him that he's probably still been doing Flash stuff, playing polo, teaching polo, riding horses, still being the guy. But so he can still be in decent shape for a 50-year-old. But as you and I both know, like, even though you might work out and maintain a pretty regimented workout schedule, you just don't have the energy that you used to, or the elasticity.
I I am stronger than I was, though.
Yes.
I don't pop back as fast. I I had a really hard hour and a half of weightlifting this morning, and then came home and immediately took a nap.
Yes. Yeah, there's that has to be part of it, right?
Yeah.
So no matter how he defeats the dragon, no matter what tactic he uses or what trickery he uses, afterwards he's like, I gotta sit down. I need a nap.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah. And is that just a lighter moment, or is that a character point that we carry forward? We're like, here's the problem. I can do a lot of this. I can still do a lot of this stuff, but I can't do it as fast. I can't do it as often.
Right. I can't do it all day, every day. I'm gonna need need a certain amount of protein. I'm gonna need a pillow for my neck, and I'm gonna need a hot shower afterwards.
Is there whey on whey protein on Mongo?
Oh, there's got to be. There's got to be something. But I do think that makes the character, that separates him. I mean, that makes him interesting, right? Like, one of the things that I always find very frustrating when watching any kind of, though Jackie Chan was always very good about this, is like when they would take, a knife, a cut, or and then just keep on going and go on to the next fight. And I get it. That's all part of the theatrics. But like, if you've been kicked real hard in a lymphatic system in your thigh, you're down. It takes a while to recover from. And you're gonna limp for a while. And that's the funny, like, I do like the idea of, as an older character, showing the cost and the grit. Like, it's like he's even into the next, so he fights someone and he wins, but even for like a whole issue, he's still limping. Right? He's still
Right. I was just thinking it because when I used to compete, I would get hurt, but I would keep moving, and the next day was hell. But now, if I spar, I get hurt, and I'm like, "We're done. I'm gonna go sit down."
Exactly.
Congratulations.
I'm winded. Yeah, I need a moment.
So, but doesn't that make him more of a hero if he sticks through that and he keeps?
I think it does. It certainly makes him more human, right? It makes him more relatable. Because I think there's been in the last 15 or 20 years, there's been a real push. When I was a kid, the goal was to be more like your heroes, like to be more like Spider-Man, to be more like Captain America, and the only way you could do that back in the day was like, well, I had to stretch, I had to do kung fu, you had to like do gymnastics or lift weights or do whatever the thing was to try and make yourself into the image of the fictional character. But I think beginning in the early 2000s, maybe even before that, there was a real push. And I kind of blame Alan Moore for this a little bit, like this idea of making everyone more believable or real. And so there was a push, I think, to bring the characters closer to us as opposed to getting closer to the characters. And I think that we've really almost humanized them too much. But I think the only way to really rectify that is make them human, make them relatable, but then also give them superhuman aspects that we should aspire to, like grit, fortitude, empathy, all these things that make a hero.
And if he goes there, so how does he get there, do you think? Because if he goes there and there's a little bit of a back and forth, like, I can't do this anymore. Okay, so this is actually interesting. This just occurred to me. And we were talking before about how I plot things out, and this is the sort of shit that happens in my head.
Right.
So now we've got him there. We get him there. He doesn't want to do it at first. he says, I'm in my 50s. I've got another life. I don't know why you guys brought me here. Maybe I can be a general or something and help you out that way. And they drop him into pit with a dragon. It's like you're not going to be a general here, buddy. You've got to go.
Right.
This is what we're going to do. We're going to start off from that. And so he's trying to be reasonable as an Earth person does, and they're like, no, you're Flash Gordon. You're going to fight the dragon.
Right. Well, I think that's a problem, an interesting problem to solve. So one, first off, I do love the old classic, Jungian refusing the call, right? Joseph Campbell thing. So he refuses the call first, like, because everyone's like, no, not for me. But then if he gets thrown into it, like the choice gets taken away from him and he just has to survive, you can find out that he likes it. But like, how do we get him to Mongo in the first place? Like, so that book I was telling you about, they have someone come and get him. And that's how he goes back to the Flash Gordon world. So I always think that would have been my first response, but since someone kind of already did that, like, maybe it's an accident. Maybe he falls into a portal, or he finds one of Zarkov's old spaceships and goes back. Or maybe he thinks he's committing suicide on some level. Like maybe he's, or maybe he's looking to get, like maybe he wants out. He's like, I'm done doing this Earth thing. I'm just going to go. Maybe he thinks he's going to go back for like to live out the last of his days in peace. Right? He's like, you know what? I'm going to go. Fuck this job. Fuck this life. I'm going to go back where I'm a hero, and I have free healthcare, and I have all these things. I'm going to go back to the place that I fixed. They can at least, they owe me a decent, a decent end. Maybe Dale's, they owe me a decent retirement. I put the time in, right?
Yeah.
And then when he gets there, he realizes like, oh no, this is not this is not idyllic.
This is not. You people have messed up everything I did.
Right.
What if for a character piece, what if he goes back for Aura?
Oh,
because there was always, the Flash Aura, she's the bad girl, Dale's the good girl. And what if he's just hit, late middle age, and, he doesn't have to be a really good guy all the time. What if,
or maybe Dale's gone. Maybe Dale died and he's just been a widower for a while.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I kind of like that. If Dale's gone and he goes back for the other love of his life, who he always had a thing for, and maybe live out his super sexy.
I like the idea that Zarkov left some spaceships hanging around, because in the original story, Flash and Dale are kidnapped.
Right. In that one ship. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Zarkov kidnaps them and take them back, but they come back to Earth with the ship from Mongo.
Oh, so maybe they get back in that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of cool if it's been mothballed somewhere, right? And it's under a giant tarp, and he goes and starts it up again. Oh yeah, maybe he promised Dale he would never go back. It's like, no, your life is here now.
Yeah,
I don't want you.
Yeah, and it's she dies, and now that's his impetus to like, I got to reclaim something of my life, of who I am. He worked for 30 years to make Dale happy, and she dies, and he realized that without her, he's not happy. What's he going to do with his life?
Right. And I do think that's a really interesting, we know now enough people whose parents are not doing so great, or who have gotten a divorce, or like life just changes and now your circumstances are different and you're left questioning. I do think that this is, first off, we should write a fun story about a guy who's dealing with this stuff in his 50s well, this is what's interesting about being at Flash Gordon. We can figure all this stuff out with Flash Gordon and then just make it our own thing.
Yeah.
But I do like this idea of, what do you do when you've been a hero and you've had a whole life and you're and you're no longer the hero? Like, what is that? What is yeah.
Like I was saying earlier, like Ernest Shackleton, like what did this guy do after that amazing journey in the South Pole? Like,
right.
What do you do after that?
Right.
Do you just talk about it for the rest of your life, or or it's kind of like old baseball players who can't wait for the old timers game.
Right. We've known people who peaked in high school or college or whatever. Like, what do you do when you feel like you may have peaked, but then you're still around?
Right.
You're plagued. You're plagued with continuing after in the decline. Right.
So I like that. I like that a lot. And once he
Yeah.
gets there, what's he find? Because there were, like I said, there were Ming people who were supporting Ming, and there were I forgot about the giants in Phrygia, and then
Oh.
there were also giants in the South Pole of Mongo who were associated with Ming. The Sharkmen were Ming allies, and who else? There were giants in the South Pole were Ming allies, and Ming would use Arborea. I didn't know Arborea had two indigenous populations.
Okay.
The implication is that Baron and the Tree Men had taken Arborea away from these people, which is, that means they're angry and, would easily go on some kind of war run.
Right.
Has it all just fallen apart? Is it like Game of Thrones and there's just all these kingdoms who are holding each other in abeyance, just keeping it down? Or is there somebody trying to take over again?
I like the idea of it being kind of Games of Thrones, where like there's a million different factions, just trying to figure out who's going to be in charge. But that seems utterly kind of hopeless. I kind of like the idea if there is someone's trying to put it together, but they can't. They don't have the collective aura to pull everyone under the umbrella. And maybe that's when Flash shows up. They're like, oh, everyone wants to use them for that kind of thing. Like,
right.
Oh, you're our figurehead. You're the thing. If you're on my side, then that means you kind of like that we have an extra push, that we are more legitimate, right? Isn't that what they always wanted to have, the king's son or the king's, like, it's the king is dead, long live the king, that kind of concept?
I think Baron of Arborea became the king after Ming fell. But what if Baron dies, and if excuse the phrase, if Baron dies Baron and doesn't have an heir, that could set off a whole war between these people, and he just comes back and finds it a mess.
Right.
It's not just, and it's a different story than trying to defeat Ming, because it's trying to pull all these people together. There's not just one person that he has to defeat. It's
right.
all these things he has to try and pull together. And
right.
So why doesn't he just leave?
Well,
He doesn't need to be the hero.
He wants to be the hero, but also I think, like, that's the great thing is, like, so I know this is cliche, but what is his motivation? Like, what does he want? Right? Isn't there the classic thing of what does the character want, and then what does the character need? And those
right.
are the two different things. And there's also the thing of, like, what does the character need that they don't know they need until they realize that that's what they really needed, right? So there's what they want, or what they think they want, what they think they need, and what they actually need. And I think those are probably going to be different for him throughout the story. So when he gets there, he's probably just kind of trapped in it. Maybe crashes. Maybe there isn't another ship to go back.
Or they capture him. A ship lands and they just capture him because this can't be good.
Right.
Oh, it's one of Ming's ships.
Oh, right. Is that what it is?
I think so. Okay. So we can just say it is that they took one of Ming's ships. One of Ming's ships crashes, and they immediately arrest whoever is in it.
Right, and they're like, "You're not Flash Gordon. Flash Gordon is a deity. He went back to heaven." Yeah. Right?
We have a statue of him here, and he doesn't have a pot belly.
Yeah, exactly. He's strong. You look tired, right? I like that. But yeah, figuring out what his motivation is, I think that's always the hard thing. Like, I don't draw, I know I talked about this before, but I I think I draw a much better Spider-Man than I do Superman. I don't, and I didn't. I've drawn Spider-Man a lot more than Superman, but I never really felt. Part of the reason is because I never really felt like I got a handle on Superman. Like he's much more of a cipher for me. He's not. He's more of a concept and a real person, and I'd never felt like I understood how he would stand. Like he's. I never understood how gravity worked on him. Um, I just don't get it.
Who was it that said he lives in a world of tissue paper?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, I love that quote. I can't remember who said it first, but yeah, like
Moore?
Might have been because he's always taking it so easy. No, it's when he fought Darkseid that time. Maybe it's when he fought Darkseid that first time that he didn't have to hold back.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great character moment. So I think understanding but that's me trying to draw a character, not even just write them. So I think writing the character, you really have to understand who they are.
Well, he's in his 50s. He's past midlife. He's just past midlife. He's wondering. What the world
Yeah. I mean, generous. Yeah. I remember when someone told me when I was 45 that I was middle aged, and I'm like, there's no way I'm making it to 90. I don't see that happening.
Megan once said, "We are a disgusting pair of middle-aged hipsters," and I said,
Yeah.
"I'm not middle-aged.
Right, I'm not middle.
I'm a senior citizen hipster." Let's get
Oh
this
yeah.
straight.
Oh God.
Well, he's in his 50s. He's in some pain, some emotional pain about it, because what do you do? Like, if is his usefulness over? Is, I think, the big driver in this.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What he wants is something to feed him, to make him feel alive again.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, he finds out that his usefulness is not over. But in a way, it's like last time he was there, it was easy because everybody became like, oh my God, it's Flash Gordon. He's going to save us.
Right.
And now nobody's going to believe he's Flash Gordon. And also, even if they do believe he's Flash Gordon, it's like, you're not going to save us.
So how are you going to save us? Right. It's not the same thing. Well, I think that as you get older, the world does become more complicated. It becomes simpler. I think more easy. I think I understand more, but like I see the complexities of consequences in a way I never did when I was younger. Right. The simple drive was go here, do this. And now I don't think I can, like, the world is not black and white anymore, which I think is an interesting to think about for a character. Right. Because a character has to be, very decisive, right? Like, because if a character is indecisive in a story, that's boring. It's boring to draw. It's boring to read. But how do you visualize? Once again, I'm always interested in, like, how do I turn the metaphor into the visual, right? Like,
so when he was young, he thought, if I just get these people to pull together, things will be fine.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Or
if I just stick a sword in this guy, right? Yeah. Like,
just that one guy. I've just got to put a sword in that one guy.
One guy, and then that settles everything, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not going to. He understands now that doesn't work that way, and it's not just like, hey gang, let's all pull together like a football team. It's that does it become too heady and too talking heads if he understands that you're not going to solve all the problems this one way. You're not going to get the tree people and the lion men to ally with each other without Ming to defeat. That's a big deal. Right.
Well, I once did a thing called War Inc., which was it was for veterans, and it was sort of an online gallery museum thing that we took really great photographs of all these veterans' tattoos. And then they were all memorial tattoos. They were tattoos of their time in the service. There were memorial tattoos of people that had died. They were tattoos that were representative of their experience during during their time in service. And then one of the things that I really wanted to do was use those as as part of the 3-act structure and tell the story, like tell the story of the tattoo, and have it be, and have the soldiers having been the hero who'd gone to the foreign land, had the adventure, and then brought back the information, and then that classic nut, where then they come back, and then the part that I really wanted to get, we wanted to turn it into a physical exhibit where you walked around and looked at the tattoos and the photographs, and then had to walk around, and then really look at them and be standing next to them. And so at the end, the question was now, because I've always said the biggest problem with PTSD and vets coming back is like they did their job. They did the first parts. They did their part of the story as the hero. They went into the underworld. They went to the foreign land. They brought back the fleece to fix the problem. And then the part that always gets missed when soldiers come home is that the people, the villagers, don't then apply the information that the soldier learned, the hero learned, to fix the problem with society that sent them out in the first place. They never then apply like, oh,
right.
You came back, you have this information now. I will take the information and your job is done. Now I will apply it and fix this system. That part never happens. And I do think that the story, I got lost in my own thread.
Can you do a visual storytelling about the sort of politics we're talking
yes,
about?
That's it.
Game of Thrones, right, so, was a lot of politics and intrigue.
Right. Well, like what is the metaphorical MacGuffin, right? Like and I always use the golden fleece, right? He needs to cure a sickness and he has to go get it and make deals and do all that stuff. But it's a great visual metaphor for the problem of the things that suck about society, right? Like, and then he had to fight with Cribda and Syllabus, who are the two sea monsters? Charybdis? Is that it?
I think so.
Well, look at my ancient Greek not quite coming up. But anyway, that's always my struggle is how do you take what we're talking about, like this feeling of incomplete destiny, and make that into a dude to fight or a thing to overcome, a mountain to climb, right? Like that's the tough part, I think, about having it be a visual medium, is like, what is the visual for the different metaphors?
Is there, a couple things.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an opposite number?
Yes, that's important.
And is there someone on his side who is, what if there's somebody on his side, on the good side, who's questioning him all the time and saying, we don't need this Earth guy doing this. We thought he saved us once before and he fucked up.
Right.
If it was, we wouldn't be in this position without him. Well, I killed Ming. Yeah, we wouldn't be in this position without you.
Right. The devil's advocate.
Right. If that guy has, or woman has an army, then that sort of like gives that a personality and a visual conflict. If they have an army or spies or something like that, what if it's like what's her name of Phrygia, or what if it's even Thun the Lion Man is like, who was his best friend is now like, no, you screwed us up.
Right.
I've got all these lion guys with me.
Right. What if it's Ming's daughter, actually, instead of it being a romantic thing he goes back for, she's actually the one who's most pushing for Ming stuff, because she's like, we were much better off under Ming. At least she certainly was. Right. Like if she's been turned into a commoner, and has been living, say, with the Lion Men this whole time, and now she's like, nope, this didn't work. We need to go back to let's not go all the way back to Ming, but I'll be Ming, but nicer, sexier.
Like Italian fascists currently.
Yes. Right. Exactly. Like, how do I repackage and sell the same animal, the same monster, but with a nicer with more lipstick, so to
Right.
speak. Yeah.
Right. More palatable. I understand what my father did wrong.
Yes.
And nobody can understand it better than me because I was his daughter. And
Right.
it would be, there was so much between the two of them. It would be
Right.
very human if he's dead and all of a sudden, like, I know neither of us knows anything about an abusive parent.
Right.
but if
Right.
he dies, she starts having good memories of him.
Yeah, interesting. That happens a lot.
Yeah, that's what people really do.
Yeah.
And
And she sees the things. Well, she sees that there was more. But yes, some people were sacrificed and some villages were burned. However, it
Yeah.
was better.
Yeah.
Right. More people had food than do now. There was less conflict. It was more order. Right. That whole Darth Vader thing. I promised them order. Right. Like that's
Yep. Well, and that's the Soviet Union too. Like they took over because what the Tsar was doing was so bad, and they took over, and they were. Boy, I just read this book about the assassination of Trotsky, and like I didn't realize that the early Soviet Union was all just a bunch of mean girls angry at each other for shit they'd said, two of them 30 years ago.
Right.
But they didn't make things better.
Right. Yeah.
So that's interesting idea that we want to go back to the way things were, and there's a push me pull you between with their sexual attraction and with why don't you join me and we can rule together. That's a classic.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, that works. And then we can get them a little sword fight, and as she is has not aged as much or is more long lived, right? Or aren't they all longer lived?
I don't remember. I think so.
Well,
I think Ming's like 200 years old or something, but I could be wrong about that. I could very well be wrong about that.
Yeah. I think I think that solves the next, because you're right. You need the villain is actually, I think, more important to the engine of the story than the hero.
Yes, your hero is only as good as your villain.
Yeah.
And if we give her levels like that, then she becomes really interesting, and then it makes him levels.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting if like she's, oh my God, Flash Gordon's, what has happened to you?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I discovered beer and fried food.
So do we set this like, is this like a period piece? Like, is it, so if it's 30 years after World War II, is like 1975?
Is that is that, so I guess if it's, well, for the Earth stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, is that when that happened? Is that when the original Flash Gordon was coming out?
The original story ended at, I think in 41, I think after Pearl Harbor, I think was when they sent it back. And then the other people, that's when Raymond left because he went into the Marine Corps, and other people took over, and they went back to Mongo, and they're on Mongo, off Mongo. But 41, so it's like, is it like 69, 70? Is he living like a Mad Men kind of life? And
I think that's really, it's really interesting.
Adventure.
Yeah, right? Like, Dale's Pass, so where do you want to put him in? Where is he from? Is he from the Midwest?
I don't remember.
Well, I mean, where does one? Well, you said he played polo at Yale.
Yeah, Yale's in Connecticut.
Yeah. So he's an Ivy League douchebag. And Dale's a New York City girl, right?
Yeah, she's like a model.
Okay,
she's like a socialite.
So maybe they could maybe what's the 70s in New York would be a really fun place to start the story for him, right?
Yeah, I just got an idea I'm writing down. He took over her family business.
Okay.
He's miserable at it.
Well, yeah, she was a socialite, so he's
just
like,
what do people do that made a ton of money in the 60s? He just it's like the Thin Man. The Thin Man is, she's rich and he manages her money for her.
Yeah, lots of board meetings.
Yeah, it'd be horrible for him. It'd be
He'd
horrible.
be terrible at it.
Trapped.
Oh yeah, like a life of quiet desperation. Oh yeah, maybe
everybody
yeah.
wants to talk to him about what you did before the war. You were on another planet. Were the girls really that sexy?
Oh, no. Does everyone? You think everyone knows where he was? That he was, or they didn't say anything, or like is it common knowledge?
Well, he in the as I remember the last panel of the strip that Raymond did, he and Dale are leaving in one of Ming's ships filled with ray guns and stuff.
Oh, okay.
That can fight World War II. So I don't know how quiet they could have kept that. Also, they save in the Mongo is hurtling towards Earth, and they save Earth by just getting Mongo to change his course. So yeah, how much do people know? How much do people remember? And how much do people believe?
I think it'd be an interesting concept because when did we go to the moon? Was that
1969?
69. And so if Mongo was coming in and hurtling towards Earth and they keep it from hurtling towards Earth, does it become sort of that Planet X on the other side of the sun, equal rotation, right?
Yeah, I don't think anybody ever worked that out, but yeah, that's.
I think that'd be an interesting.
That makes sense as to how he can get there.
Right. How Mongo's still around, right?
And the high evolutionaries there with the Animen.
Oh my! I love the high evolutionary.
Steve was not here, so I had to say it.
I love the high evolutionary. Did you ever read? On a quick side note, we're almost done, but no, that's good work. So one of the things I think, I don't know if anyone's watching this, I don't care, because it's really great for me to talk through story with someone as good at story as you are, a professional reader, professional writer, someone who understands structure and then following the flow, and like it's just it's fun, but also it's really great practice.
It's very kind of you.
But also, I think if anyone wants to learn how to do it. Like we can write it all down and be like, these are the steps you would take, or you just watch us work through the process, right? Because it's just about asking and answering questions and finding the threads, right? Like, oh, that's kind of cool. If we lean that way, how can we do right?
Yeah. I think that's the value of this podcast is figuring stuff out like that and showing people how to do it as opposed to just sit down and get your Coptic pen.
Right.
Download Final Draft.
Yes, and because I don't care what your format is or what font you're using, if you can't put yourself in the mindset of like, what is the answer to this question, and what is the coolest answer to? It's not just the answer. It's like, what is the coolest answer to this question? Then you can't write. Then you can't make stuff up. And
you can, but nobody's going to want to read it.
Right. Yeah. You want because it's not exciting for you. Right? Like I'm excited. Like I'm like, oh, and then she could be this and it could be that. If you can't get that kind of juice into the comic, then no one cares. no one cares.
I could tell last week you were getting really worked up and it was like, oh, this is gonna slow down our next project because he wants to do this.
Nah.
I understand.
This week
I don't feel bad about that.
Hey, I can compartmentalize. So here is maybe
is that Aura
from maybe in Phrygia, or maybe just as an older, like she's with the ice giants, possibly. Yeah. That might be kind of fun. Having an ice castle in Phrygia with ice giants, and he has to.
When I first saw you outlining that, I couldn't follow it that well, but I thought you were doing Clytus from the movie. That's really cool, though.
I'm going to have to draw a boar worm at some point.
No, not the boar worms.
Can I just put the boar worms on me?
And that is one of the moments that's great in that movie is when she's being tortured and the polarization changed and Ming's just watching it eating grapes.
Yes. Like, such a villain.
He's such a shithead.
He's such an asshole. I mean, he is one of the all-time great villains.
Yeah.
And so you think he was based on one of the Italian guy? Like, who do you think he's based on?
I think he's like a shoot,
like a Ferdinand.
The Italians who are killing each other all the time.
The
Borgias.
Mussolini.
No, Borgias.
Oh, okay.
I think he's like a Borgia mixed with Fu Manchu.
Interesting.
He's obviously supposed to look Asian in the early strips, and they've changed that. Right. But one of the things I think I said this last week, I really like is that he's just as brave as Flash Gordon. He's not a cowardly villain. He's the guy who's going to stand, and if it comes down to just the two of them, he's going to stand and fight.
Almost like Emperor Chin. Great. Yeah. Right. Like he didn't hesitate to cross swords with Flash. He was like, I'm going to kill you. Yeah. He thought he was going to win.
Yeah. When Flash invades the throne room at the end, Ming just gets up and picks up a sword and says, fine, let's go.
Yeah. That's really cool.
So that would be something that she would look at and go, look how great my dad was. You didn't scare him.
Yeah. He wasn't a coward at all.
Yeah. You conquered every country on this planet, and he's not afraid of you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's interesting making, and then that's a really great thing too, just as to go back to all of the subtext and the themes. She's dealing with the loss of, or she is mythologizing her dad, right? And that's what happens when you're creating a story, right? Like Hercules may or may not have existed, and he might have fought a lion. But here's what he didn't do: pick it up over its head and break its back.
Right.
But because him fighting a lion and winning is a great story, but it's not as cool as him picking it up and breaking its back and then taking its skin because it was impenetrable. Like, it's all that extra stuff, I think, that makes stories memorable. And this is why we have so many crazy myths, is because no one around the campfire remembers that Bill solved the math problem and we all got to eat the right amount of food. But if Bill killed the giant snake and now we're all drinking snake wine, that's really cool.
Yep. And he saved us all by doing it. Yep.
Yeah. Right. Yep. So that's a story that people remember.
Yeah. Do you know who Pappy Boyington was? Greg Boyington?
No.
He's a Marine pilot in World War II, the #1 ace in the Marine Corps and in the South Pacific. And he was a terrible Marine. He was the most undisciplined Marine who ever lived. But he also shot down more Japanese Zeros than anyone else. And
interesting.
They mythologized him. He got the Congressional Medal of Honor. He was on the Death March of Bataan. They shot him down. The Japanese had a price on his head. He took somebody else's dog tags and pretended to be somebody else to survive in Japanese prison camp. He was reported dead, and then they found him after the war. It was like this great story. Like, look at this great hero. He's back. And what they're not telling you is that he's a drunkard. He can't hold a job.
Right.
Once the war is over, he can't survive in the real world anymore.
I think that's really interesting character stuff. Yeah, but I mean, to me, that's the more, but nobody wants to hear that. I like hearing that because it makes him human and even more remarkable in a way that the thing that he did. But we don't like unhappy endings. We don't like the idea that, that Conan got tired, and couldn't fight as much, or that nobody likes to hear that George Washington was kind of a dick.
Yeah, held slaves and,
Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson raped his enslaved people.
A lot. Yeah. Which I think it's really interesting. But as a storyteller, you have to walk this line between the truth and the best story. But I think you can still tell the truth with the best story.
Can we take this and give him feet of clay that he has to redeem? And does he still, I mean, like you say, does he become more of a hero if he's fighting simple human problems like I'm 50?
Right.
And, but doesn't stop. Does that make him more of a hero in that way?
I think, it certainly makes him more inspirational for someone who's going through similar things, right? Like, here's something I can't relate to: playing polo, right? Like, I can't relate to that. Like, I just can't get it. One of the things I really can't relate to is I think the Punisher is a really super interesting character. And I love John Wick. I love all these gun characters, and I do think that being proficient with the weapon is it's its own skill and it's impressive and all these things. But the thing that always drives me crazy is no one ever talks about how deaf all these characters have to be. How the overwhelming tinnitus is a
Yeah.
constant burden,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No one talks about it. You can't be around that much live fire without ear protection and not be fucking deaf.
Yeah.
And I just think that is they're missing out on something that I think could really be a humanizing aspect that they then also overcome, right? Like Donnie Yen overcoming blindness and as that sword character and figuring out how he does that. But like
Yeah.
I just watched all the John Wicks again recently, and there's that initial there's that that great fight scene in the Russian red circle bathhouse thing. There's more than once in that fight after he's shooting a gigantic hand cannon that he hears someone behind him.
Right.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're like,
right.
no.
And he's in a bathhouse full of tile that's just going to reverberate all that sound all the time. Yeah.
Drives me crazy. I mean, it's a small thing to get pissed about, but it just drives me crazy because having been around not a ton of live fire in the Army, we wore ear protection on purpose, but just sometimes you didn't have it in, and like your ears ring, especially if one goes off near you. You can't hear someone sneaking up behind you. It's crazy.
Right. You had to qualify. You had to qualify though, didn't you?
Oh yeah. With the law rocket, the grenade, and the M16. Yeah.
The old man was, my dad was a Marine, World War II Marine, and a hunter, and man, his hearing was shit.
I'm not surprised. Yeah. Well, I mean, Megan was taking her Krav Maga black belt test, and part of it is a lot of gun stuff, a lot of weapon stuff that they take stuff away and they use. And she was really proficient at it and really good at it, but she'd fired a bunch of stuff, but she'd always had ear protection. And I said, well, I mean, if you really want to play as realistic as possible, you have to at least fire off a few rounds without any ear protection, just to see how startlingly loud it is.
Right.
Because all the stuff you do when you're training is to mitigate your startle response, and it's so loud, it's hard not to be startled by the first time it happens. Right. And so, of course, I fire off a few rounds, she fires off a few rounds, everyone's fine except for me. Suddenly I had nothing but ringing in my left ear for like 2 days. And I'm like, I did it to myself. I just did it to myself, Sean, every time.
If you want to feel better, when I was doing the cowboy stunt show, I was loading the double barrel shotgun inside the cinder block sheriff's office, and I didn't check the triggers and the safeties when I snapped it shut, and they both went off. Like I went like this, and they both went off right here. Oh, so I know you're feeling.
Oh fuck, that's terrifying.
And I was running the damn show.
Oh my god. Yeah, weapons are dangerous. They're so dangerous. Yeah. So how long did the ringing last?
About 2 weeks, and then my hearing in my left ear still isn't. My entertainment attorney was a tank officer in Israel during one of the wars, and whenever we would go out to lunch together, we would sit down and start talking, get up and move.
Yeah, so you can have the good side.
So we could hear each other.
That's a bit that we have to have in the new story, in the new adaptation, is like he's got to be deaf in one of his ears from an explosion somewhere, a crash, something.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I can't. I can't hear you. I can't hear a thing you're saying on this side.
And I just thought about this. I think he's going to be a lot more interested in the ray guns than the swords at this point.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Because they're quieter.
Well, not only are they quieter, but it's not as hard doing this as hard.
It's gonna not affect his his tendonitis, his sword shoulder.
Well, you're a coward, Flash Gordon. I don't care anymore.
No. Listen, give me some distance. I can't do this anymore. Awesome. Well, so next week we have Scott and Jones should be back.
Okay. I will be off next week.
Okay, so let's just wait till the week after. And we can,
you guys can go ahead and next week and get.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see where we're at. But I kind of like, so we'll do it in a couple weeks for sure. And then we'll put together like, let's talk about like what kind of ending do we want to have? Like, how do we want to have because I think the competing with the ending of them going back, defeating Ming, going back and helping the end of World War II, that's tough to beat, right? Like that's a high bar. But I think a good ending is, I think, maybe even harder than a good beginning.
I think the idea is take this. What's a good ending for the character at this point in his life, as opposed to what the good ending was, when he was younger and he came back to fight another war.
Right.
What's going to be good for him here and good for the planet now?
Yeah.
And does he just stay? Does he want to go back to Earth again, or does he want to just stay? Is this home now?
Oh, right. And maybe if so, you said that this is just a quick thought. So he took over Dale's business and had board meetings and sucked at it, right? But maybe on Mongo, after the war is over, he has board meetings and is good at it because it's about it's about keeping the peace. It's about making sure everybody gets along.
Yeah, he's found out that, running stuff. Oh, that's brilliant, Jeff, because if he's on Earth in the beginning and sucking at these board meetings, and then he's there and he finds out that there's meaning to this sort of collaboration without shooting people or running spaceships, that's a really good sort of like heroic ending for him.
Yeah, because more can actually be done in a good collaboration with a bunch of different people, as opposed to just trying to make some bank or sell some stuff or get a stock off the ground. Yeah.
Right. He stops being a hero and becomes a statesman.
Yeah, I like that. Excellent. All right.
All right,
my friend.
Well, thank you, everybody. Anybody
Thanks,
who's watching,
everyone.
we appreciate it. There'll be.
I did a little drawing.
Jeff did a very good drawing.
There you go.
And we'll see you all. If we don't see you next week, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care.
Okay. All right.